You ever feel stuck? Like you're carrying so much baggage from the past that you just can't seem to move forward? Well, it turns out the secret to real, healthy growth might actually be found in the simple act of letting go. So today, we're going to dive into this really powerful idea, the wisdom of pruning. It all kind of starts with this one simple memory. Just picture this: a yard with these poplar trees that were just incredibly tall and perfectly straight. Honestly, they were so perfect they almost didn't look natural, especially when you compared them to other trees you'd see out in the wild, all tangled and messy. So you had to wonder, right? What was their secret? How did these trees grow so strong, so focused, while others just grew wild? All right, so let's get into it. Section 1, the secret of tall trees. It all starts with this one lesson from a childhood memory. See, if you looked a little closer, you'd notice a few weird things. For one, the branches only started growing from about the middle of the trunk and up. The whole bottom part of the trunk was bare, just scars and knots where branches used to be. And the result of this? Well, it was undeniable. These trees were way healthier and taller. This was definitely not an accident. The answer was actually pretty simple. Someone had intentionally pruned them. By cutting away all those lower, unnecessary branches, all of the tree's energy, its water, its nutrients, could be channeled into its one most important goal: growing straight up toward the light. And this whole idea reveals a really surprising principle: disconnection for continuity. It's kind of paradoxical, right? To keep growing, you first have to let some things go. So, let's take this concept out of the garden and bring it into our own lives. Life pruning is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's about intentionally removing the habits, the mindsets, maybe even the relationships that are draining your energy, so you can pour all of that good stuff into what truly matters for your growth. Now, the really crucial point here is finding a balance. Life isn't all about disconnection, and it's not only about continuity either. Real healthy growth comes from knowing what to hold on to, that core of your identity and your purpose, and what to let go of. All the stuff that's just holding you back. Okay, so that brings us to our next section, pruning your own life. How do we actually apply this principle beyond the garden? This really gets to the heart of the two extremes we have to avoid. Think about it. If you only focus on continuity, you never really mature. You're just stuck clinging to old childish ways. But if you only focus on disconnection, you basically erase your own history and lose your sense of self. The sweet spot, that healthy growth, is right there in the middle. It really boils down to these two steps. First, you need the wisdom to figure out what's essential, what really makes you, you. And second, you need the courage to actually let go of everything else. One without the other, well, it just doesn't work. I know this can all feel a little abstract, so let's look at a really powerful case study from the source material. The life of the Apostle Paul is basically a masterclass in this kind of personal pruning. Here, Paul is talking directly about disconnection. He recognized that to grow into his new identity, his new purpose, he had to consciously and decisively leave his old ways of thinking and being behind. He literally pruned away his childish self. But, and this is so important, he didn't just get rid of everything. This quote shows his absolute fierce commitment to continuity. He identified his core mission, the task given to him by Jesus, and he dedicated all his energy to that. That was the central trunk of his life that he would never, ever cut. So here we can see the two sides laid out really clearly. On the left, you've got what he pruned away, his old self, his past identity. And on the right, you see what he kept, his new self in Christ, his mission, and his faith. This was a clear, totally purposeful pruning that completely transformed his life. And all this raises the most important question of all, doesn't it? For us, what is truly essential? What's that unshakable core that we should build our lives around? Well, the source material offers a very specific answer to that. According to this perspective, the ultimate dividing line, the litmus test, if you will, is a person's relationship with Jesus Christ. Anything that belongs to that old self outside of the relationship is fair game for pruning, but everything that's part of the new self within that relationship is essential for continuity. These are presented as the non-negotiables, the core truths that act like the life-giving nutrients for growth: God's love, Christ's sacrifice, and the promise of new life through the resurrection. According to the source, this is the foundation that should never, ever be pruned away. And that's the ultimate payoff from this viewpoint. When your identity is rooted in something so unshakable, it gives you the freedom and the courage to let go of the past, all the mistakes, the baggage, the old habits, without being afraid of losing yourself. It lets you look forward with real hope. So, as we wrap this up, I'll just leave you with this question to think about. Just take a moment and think about your own life as a tree. What branches are draining your energy but not really bearing any fruit? What needs to be pruned away so you can direct all of your strength toward the sky?